Hello, everyone, and welcome to another story of God's life-giving word and life-giving breath. We have been looking at some stories of resurrection. We started on Sunday with the resurrection of this valley of dry bones, and then we followed up with two stories of Jesus healing individuals in this earth. A physical representation, a flesh and blood representation of the great words given to Ezekiel, the new Son of Man, if you will, come to bring the good news to our world. We've seen him resurrect a widow's son and the daughter of a ruler of a synagogue. Now we come to a third story of resurrection in the life of Jesus, and this one is a very complex one. That is, it's larger and contains more detail than the other two stories. It's neatly laid out in the Gospel of John, and it's laid out in three different scenes. The scene of this resurrection story, the first scene, starts across on an other side of the Jordan, outside of Judea. And there's a conversation when message arrives that Jesus' good friend Lazarus is sick. And Jesus suggests going back to Judea to heal him. This is a complicated proposal because it was already known by this point that there were people in Judea that wanted to capture Jesus and to try him as a treasonous person, as a criminal in their society. And so it was a troublesome request to make of his disciples to go back in this hostile place. But Jesus felt called to go back there to deal with this sickness of his friend Lazarus. Jesus also made it clear at this early part of the story that he wanted to do something different. He wanted to prove something there. He was going to make a case. He was going to reveal the glory of God there. So that first setting, it's all about setting up expectations, going back into a hot spot to declare the glory of God in some unbelievable way. There's also a conversation about the sleeping of Lazarus. There was a concern that he might die, and Jesus says he's sleeping, and the disciples take this as good news. This means that he will get better. And Jesus says, no, he's dying. And but I still want to go back there to make a point about the glory of God. Well, they decide to head back, and then we come to the second scene, and the second scene of the story focuses upon the two sisters of Lazarus, Mary and Martha. Martha, as usual, is the more active one. She goes out to meet Jesus, and she kind of accuses him in a very nice way, I suppose, but her point is that Lazarus is already dead, and if Jesus would have come sooner, he could have prevented it. They knew he was a healer. He could have healed the sick. And then as he goes closer to the home, he meets Martha. Martha gives him this same statement that if he would have come sooner, he could have saved Lazarus. And Jesus has a conversation with each of them and tries to take them to a deeper level, and I think tries to take us to a deeper level. It's in this context that he makes that famous statement that I am the resurrection and the life. The idea that if you believe in me, you will never die. You will live even though you may die physically. I mean, that is the point he's seeking to make. And the sisters, they believe, but they don't believe. There's still a struggle there. They're still grieving the fact that they have lost their precious brother, Lazarus. And there's a controversy among the people. They're grieving. At Bethany, the place where they were now, it was just a few miles out of Jerusalem. Many people had come to grieve with this family. And they're talking about Jesus. They're saying the same thing. If Jesus really cared, he would come and heal his sick friend before he died. And in the midst of all this, we have the statement that Jesus wept. It's the shortest verse in the Bible. In John 11:35, Jesus wept. Scholars debate why he was weeping. Is he grieving the loss of Lazarus? I personally believe that it's deeper than that. I believe he's looking around at all the agony and misery and mistrust and brokenness and his greed for the people of this world, because he is among them. He's the resurrection and the life. He's proven it over and over again. He's given them this word, and he's shown through the powerful demonstration of his Spirit that he's here to heal, and yet the people are still stuck. They won't listen. They won't believe. They won't change. They're still stuck, servants, slaves to the same death that has ruled every generation since the beginning. And Jesus is grieving this lamentable human condition. But he's about to prove that he has power over that condition. And that's where we'll pick up the story in John chapter 11, beginning in verse 38. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across it. "Take away the stone," he said. But Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man, by this time there's a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days. I mean, he's in this tomb. They didn't embalm in that day. There was, in fact, Jewish people today still, conservative Jewish people in this day don't embalm, and so the body decomposes rapidly, especially in that climate. And so she's arguing against taking away the stone. There's a stench of death there. And then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" Jesus is really pressing faith here. Do you really believe? I mean, they've made the confession that Jesus is Lord, that he's the Messiah. They both have said they believed in him, but now they're putting their faith to the test. Do you really believe that Jesus can bring people back from the dead? Do you really believe that, Martha and Mary? Do you really believe that this could happen? So they took the stone away, and Jesus looked up and he said a simple prayer. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." He says a prayer out loud for the benefit of the people listening. He talks to the Father, and he says, quite frankly, "I believe you're there, but I want to send them a sign. I want to show them, I want to prove to them that you are here, that you have the power of life over death." And when he had said that, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." And the dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Again, the word of God coming to a dead man, not even able to hear. He's still in the tomb. 4 days gone. And Jesus just says a simple word. "Lazarus, come out." The same words that healed the other people that had passed on. God's creative word that even dead men listen to. And Jesus says, "Take the grave clothes off and let him go." It was not Lazarus' time. God still had a plan for him on this earth. You know, as I look at this story, a couple things strike me. One thing is that Jesus did allow Lazarus to get sick. He did even allow Lazarus to die. It was part of the overall story. The people there, they had a different agenda for Jesus. They wanted him to prevent all that, and that's understandable, and that's natural, and that's normal human expectation. We have the same expectation. We would like God to heal everybody, keep everyone alive that we care about. That's our desire. But our faith stays stuck there sometimes, and we don't move past that to realize that God can even raise the dead, that his story and his work doesn't end with our sickness and even our physical death. Jesus is working on a bigger plan, a bigger story, that there is resurrection in view. He proves in this case he can do it in this life, but the proof is for us in all lives, for all of our lives, for all time. Mary and Martha, they understand that there will be a general resurrection someday when God will raise people again from the dead en masse. But right now he's giving us a foretaste, a proof that he can do this in his way and in his time. It's an encouragement to us that God never gives up on us, even though we look around and we think there's suffering and there's death, and therefore God is absent. No, God is still there. He's still watching. He knows. He's still coming. Jesus is still coming. That's the message to this family in Bethany. Lazarus has gone sick. He has died, but Jesus is still coming. Our friends, our neighbors are getting sick. They are passing away. We see that around us, but don't be discouraged. Jesus is on his way. He promises resurrection. This is his promise to us. It's a glorious story. Come back tomorrow and we'll look at the resurrection story of Jesus afresh and anew. And then join us on Sunday where we're going to see where this story is going. That final vision that Ezekiel has, a vision that will change everything for us. So the Lord bless you today as you focus on his life-giving word and his life-giving spirit.